greatness in life. There's greatness inside of you. Let's do greatness with love. Unleash it in the greatness of His love. Transformation that you can have, coming from God above. Welcome to the Greatness Hub. Welcome to the Greatness Hub.
Hello there, I'm Coach Karie. Join me for inspirational conversations on education innovations and redesign learning experiences. Teaching out of the box every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. only on the Greatness Hub online channel. At the Greatness Hub, together we discover, we develop, and we dominate our greatness. See ya!
All right, great evening, everyone. I'm Coach Karie, and welcome to Teaching Out of the Box, where inspirational conversations and educational innovations and redesign learning experiences are delivered by guests who are on the educational field day in and day out. Finally, I am doing my first live streaming, and I am so happy that you are with me tonight. And I hope that if you have time, you can leave comments in the comment section. You can leave questions as I explain the topic that I'm going to explain tonight. By the way, this is episode 4. And allow me to share my screen so that you will have an idea on what has happened to Teaching Out of the Box in the past 3 weeks. This is our 4th week of airing. Okay, allow me to share my screen. Okay. Thank you so much for those who watched our previous 3 episodes with teachers from primary to high school to college education. This episode will be all about flipped classroom, a teaching approach that I personally apply in my class. So as you can see on my screen, you have there the 3 guests we had in the previous 3 weeks. So we started with, okay, so Teaching Out of the Box already has 3 previous episodes, and those episodes we have heard the point of view of 3 different teachers handling primary school in Manila, high school in the US, and college in Cebu. In our first episode, Back to Basics with Miss Kate, it was all about letting the students feel that even though we are adopting distance learning nowadays, there is still a need to let the students feel that classes are still ongoing, and in whatever way we can, we must still use the basic strategies and methods in delivering our classes. Since she is a reading teacher, she lets her students write manually and not digitally so that the students learn better as they write the words one by one. So they learn to read as they write. For her, this is still a very effective method for our primary students to learn, and I very much agree with her. As a math teacher in high school, it is still very needed for students to learn how to write their solutions in print. And although that this is already a very digital age, nothing beats knowing how to express it by writing. In our second episode, Education Across the Globe with Miss Christine, we learned that cooperative learning makes the students learn math with mastery. Although she emphasized that it takes a lot of preparation on the teacher side to prepare for the activities that the students will be doing, seeing students work collaboratively, trying to come up with the solutions given a certain problem, or a certain problem given solutions. They are trying to figure out what it is about. the students are really having fun while learning, and that is the best reward a teacher can get, where when students learn and at the same time have fun. So math is a very difficult subject, we all know that it's a very challenging subject, but for teachers to make it easier, um, is a great reward for the students so that they have fun while learning. And in our third episode, with Miss Silverlin, we had a glimpse of how college education is delivered here in the Philippines right now during pandemic times. There are a lot of innovation on how to deliver practical applications to the lessons, especially that during college days, right? The students need actual and hands-on opportunities to be able to apply the theories that they have learned. One of the goal we have in education is for students to be able to master the concepts that we teach them, to be able to apply these learnings in real life daily situations. And in our episode right now, we are going to be looking into flipped classroom. I will be sharing my personal strategy, the one that I have been using in my classes since 2013. So if you're all ready, let's begin. Before I start, show your love in the comments. Please post down some comments if you have questions. Please let me know who's watching. As of the moment, I can see that we have 2 viewers. So please post in the comment section if you have some greetings so that I can shout you out, or comments or questions and anything that you would like to share with everyone. All right. Okay. So those are the teacher's point of view. And as for the fourth episode, I will be inputting my own personal point of view in how teaching is delivered innovatively nowadays. Okay, flipped classroom. I first learned about flipped classroom when I personally met Dr. Peter Esperanza, a person who is a teacher in California who does flip classroom and is very famous nowadays in the Philippines, because when we moved into the digital um, methods of learning, flip classroom is one of the strategies that is being adopted by the teachers. I met him personally during my master's education days way back in 2013, and I fell in love with the strategy, and I can strongly relate to it. And finally, now I know how to call the way I do my classes. Even before knowing about flipped classroom, I really do my classes differently from the traditional ways. And it is very similar to flipped classroom. Now, flipped classroom is a type of blended learning where students are introduced to content at home and practice working through it at school. So we all know that the traditional way of learning is we learn in school, teachers gives us an activities, and then most of the time, our 1 hour classes in the basic education, or maybe in the college, there's 1 hour and a half or 2 hours. It runs out because the entire session was done on discussion. Now, these activities, usually we finish it at home and teachers add additional homeworks and assignments to be done. So what happens to students? To the students watching there, what happens when we go in our house, or when we go back in our house? We do a ton of assignments at night. We learn from 7:30 to 4:30 in the morning, and then when we go back in the house, there's still a lot of assignments to do. There's a lot of pressure, right? And what if we did not understand the discussion given by the teacher? So we're gonna do the assignment without not knowing, or without fully understanding the concept. And most often than not, students are left alone to answer their assignments, and are good for those who have tutors. I have been a tutor myself before, and I know the struggles of students doing assignments, and a lot of assignments, I must say. So in the flipped classroom, it's reversed. We will get into that later. You will see how it is reversed and how it is more helpful to students. Of course, now during the pandemic, there has been a shift in the education. We all know that, in education delivery, and flipped classroom also has evolved with it. Okay, so flipped classroom is a pedagogical approach in which direct instruction moves the group from learning space to the individual learning space, and the resulting group space is transformed into a dynamic, interactive, learning environment where the educator guides the students as they apply concepts and engage creatively in the subject matter. This is how flipped classroom is being defined by the Flip Learning Network in 2014. So there are four pillars of flip, FLIP. As you can see that there, this I got this from fliplearning.org. So the first pillar of flip is F, flexible environment. Flip learning allows for a variety of learning modes. Educators often physically rearrange the learning space to accommodate the lesson or the unit to support either group work or independent study. So flipped classroom can be done as a group work or as an independent study. They create flexible spaces in which students choose when and where they learn. Furthermore, educators who flip their classes are flexible in their expectations of student timelines for learning and their assessments for student learning. So what basically it means, the flexible environment, it means that students don't sit in the chair where they are seated for the whole duration of the class. They are free to move around, they are free to ask their classes, and we have seen this flexibility in the environment in episode 2 with Miss Christine. She does this in her classes so students can freely move around. There was even an instance where she said that the principal came in her class and was asking, "Where is your teacher?" Because she was hidden among the students who were very busy talking about class and not talking about something else. So this flexible environment relieves students from stress rather than just sitting down and listening to the teachers talk again and again. They are free to move, they are free to say whatever they want regarding the topic, and free to think, free to come up with ways and means on how to understand the topic. The second pillar is the learning culture. In the traditional teacher-centered model, the teacher is primarily the source of information. By contrast, the flipped learning model deliberately shifts instruction to a learner-centered approach, where in-class time is dedicated to exploring topics in greater depth and creating rich learning opportunities. As a result, students are actively involved in knowledge construction as they participate in and evaluate their learning manner that is personally meaningful. We all know that we have previous knowledge, right? But what happens in a traditional classroom is that the teacher gives us everything, bombards us with everything, and we try to absorb everything. Teachers were students also before, and we were taught that way. However, not all students can absorb the information given at the same time, and we're only limited to 1 hour or 2 hour classes. So the learning culture in flipped classroom is that there is an exchange of information between the learners among themselves and between the teacher and the learner. So the teacher is not only the source of information, the students also can be a source of information, and the teacher and the learner learns together. Of course, the teacher is the facilitator, the teacher is the guide. Now, teachers need to be updated as well, so that there might be questions, so that they are able to address the questions and concerns of the students. In this manner, the students themselves are responsible of their learning. They also add, or they also contribute to their learning, and to the learning of their classmates. I had a study before that students learn best, where I realized, where the conclusion came up to be that students learn best with their peers. So it's a sad thing for teachers, but it's also a good thing. Why? Because if we teach a few students in our classroom and they master the concept well, then they will be able to teach it to their classmates as well. In my study, students learn best with peers that are of higher age to them. So your previous students can become your para teachers. You can set aside time where they can tutor. So right now, I understand it's not anymore face-to-face, but before I did it, during face-to-face setup, wherein after classes, like maybe 4 to 5, students from a higher grade level teach my students in the lower grade level. So they learn best, they listen. There are ways and strategies wherein peers can discuss or can deliver the same lesson in a way more understandable by the students. So in this learning culture, we are able to help the students learn how they want to learn. Okay, the third pillar is intentional content. Flip learning educators continually think about how they can use the flip learning model to help students develop conceptual understanding as well as procedural fluency. They determine what they need to teach and what materials students should explore on their own. Educators use intentional content to maximize classroom time in order to adopt methods of student-centered active learning strategies depending on grade level and subject matter. Now, intentional content. Not everyone or not all of the students want to learn the certain concept. In flipped classroom, the concept is already presented. If the students want to learn more about only one facet of the learning and not the entire thing. So during class time, the student can explore more on that side. Let me give an example. Okay, so in math, because I am a math teacher in math, you have discussed a certain topic, let's say fractions. Now, for the student to be able to fully understand fractions, yes, the student understands the process, the methods and whatnot, but the students, one of the student is not fully satisfied with the practical application of fractions in real life. So what the student will do is to look into more examples on how he can really understand the concept of fraction. The reason why most students cringe when they see fractions flashed on the board, even grade 11 and grade 12 students, I attest to that, they cringe looking at fractions. It's not a mere problem of grade 3 or grade 4 teachers. It's also a problem of teachers in the high school where students cringe looking at fractions. That is because for them, fractions are a foreign thing. They do not fully understand the practical, the daily life application of fractions. But if we allow the class time to be a session wherein the students can really look into the concept really well, then there will be intentional content that's being learned and the student will be more interested in that learning. All right, now the last pillar of the flipped classroom is the professional educator. The role of a professional educator is even more important. You may think na teachers might not do anything anymore if it's flipped classroom. No, it's even more important and often more demanding. I can tell you that for a few years now, I have been trying to apply different variations of flipped classroom. It's really very demanding. In a flipped classroom, more than in the traditional one, during class time, the teacher continually observes students, providing them with feedback relevant in the moment and assessing their work. So if students have questions, the teacher will answer. Or my strategy here is a student will ask a question, I will answer his or her question with another question, making the students think. So I can really remember in one of my class before wherein the student said, I will not ask my teacher questions anymore. I said, why? Because you will just reply me with a question, not knowing that when I reply the student with a question, he is able to think more. So, of course, I am still there guiding them. I do not do that always, but I do that most of the time, answering their questions with another question. So, professional educators in the flipped class setup are reflective of their practice. They connect with each other to improve their instruction. So, of course, you have your colleagues to help you accept constructive criticism and tolerate controlled chaos in their classrooms. Controlled chaos. While professional educators take on less visibly prominent roles in a flipped classroom, they remain the essential ingredient that enables flipped learning to occur. If there might be a teacher watching us now and might be asking, how do I flip my class? You can start by looking at the activities on which the students can do on their own. However, prior to letting them do the activity, you have to have an input. We will discuss that further later on. Now, how is flipped classroom fitting with the revised Bloom's taxonomy? Okay, so as you can see there, there's a picture. In traditional learning, lower level of learning such as remembering and understanding is happening in class, while students are usually left to work on activities that involve higher level of learning outside the classroom. Remember before, we do assignments, activities, and projects at home, but we do the remembering and the understanding in class. So that may be the reason why we don't have mastery of the concept, because all we do in the class is remember and understand, but the mastery and the application of the concept is done at home where nobody is guiding the student. However, in the flipped classroom model, the learning is flipped. As you can see from the pyramid, students can finish the lower level of cognitive work before class. So nowadays, a lot of students have gadgets. We have access to internet, and the internet has a lot of wonderful educational resources, and they can look up in the internet and learn a lot of things. Students learn faster. Even us adults, we learn faster in this digital era. And then what happens during the class is that we apply and we analyze what we have learned. The teacher usually starts with questions like, what concept was difficult based on the video that you watch, or what did you not understand in the module that was given to you that you have just read. In this way also, we will help the students know how to understand what they read, because as we all know, the students nowadays do not like to read. Even us who have even millennials like me who have moved into the Gen Z era, yeah, we do not read that much anymore. We do not read. We like to rely on videos. We like to watch movies all the time now. So now is the time where if it's in the flipped classroom, the students will be asked to read more and more and understand. And then during class, that's why you have the activities. They can ask their classmates, they can ask you. And then after class, that's when they evaluate and they create. That's where performance tasks happen, because the students already remember and understand. Then they have already applied and analyzed their learning with the teacher and with their peers. That's when they can already evaluate and create. So it's not any more difficult to answer the performance task because the students already understand. All right. So why should you flip your classroom? Why should you flip your classroom? What's in it for you if you flip the classroom? So there are positive, there are pros and cons, there are advantages and disadvantages to everything. No, but looking into the advantages, there are a lot as compared to the disadvantages. So what's written on the is that the right side of my screen are the advantages. So let us look into the advantages first and then later discuss the disadvantages. However, we can overcome or surpass these disadvantages to make them advantages. Okay, so flipping speaks the language of today's students. Again, a lot of information is available on the internet, online. So students speak this language of getting, or like, if you don't know anything, what do you do? What do we usually do? We search Google, right? That's the answer we give to our kids. That's the answer we give to our friends. How to do this? How to do that? Or what do I need to know about this and that? We reply, search Google. Flipping helps busy students. Students can become overwhelmed with a lot of tasks. Diba? We have 8 to 10 subjects, and students can get busy. Other subjects have homeworks that are lengthy. Other subjects have assignments that are short. But what happens if students do the lengthy assignments first? Then they will get tired answering the shorter ones, leaving them not to answer it. But in flipped classroom, the students are being helped because there is pacing in it. And then we also help struggling students. Flipped classroom can also be a remedial intervention, and we can help struggling students. And it's not anymore a competition of who's good in class and who learns slowest. It's already now a collaboration of different kinds of students. And then flipping allows help students of all abilities to excel. That's what I was saying. Fast learners get to help those who are struggling, and those struggling are not anymore pressured to learn right away. And then flipping allows students to pause and rewind their teacher. This is somehow worrisome for teachers who just moved into the online delivery of classes, but this has been how I do things even before. So seeing myself paused on screen is already something that I got used to. It doesn't matter to me anymore for as long as the students are very much interested to pause and rewind me just to understand what I just said or to relearn it again. And then it increases student-teacher interaction. Teacher has now more time to get to know the students because I can roam around the classroom, get to them one by one. Now in digital setup, I get more time to chat with my students rather than discussing to a few who is online. And what I do is I upload the videos ahead of time so that the students can watch it ahead of time. So say for example, our Q4 is this week. So I already uploaded my videos over the weekend, and I asked my students to watch it over the weekend if they can, so that comes Monday or Tuesday, which is our online class, We can have an interaction. They can ask me questions about the lesson. I don't anymore have to deliver the lesson to 5 of my statistics classes. I recorded it, I edited it once, and then I can already cater to my 200, almost more than 200 students who are learning in my statistics class. So flipping also increases student to student interaction, allows for real differentiation. So you can create or come up with activities that are actually differentiated. It just takes a lot of preparation, but the results are very rewarding. And it changes classroom management. So you do not have any more to discipline the students not much, because they are very busy in class, not doing other things, but they're busy, very busy doing the work that you are giving them. So they become responsible for their learning, as I said. Flipping changes the way we talk to parents, because parents can become our partners in this flip setup. So if we encourage parents to monitor and to focus on their students, like asking to um, please let your students watch this video if you can, because this will really greatly help them. Aside from just reading the module, the video lecture is great. And it makes your class transparent. At the same time, in this setup, the parents also relearn the concept. Especially high school parents would really say, I don't know anymore that higher math. I've learned that before. I forget it already, or I never learned it at all, so I cannot help my student. With this, the parents and the students can learn while watching the video, or they can choose. Let's say, let's admit it, not all of our students would like the way the teachers teach. I have a conversation with a student before who came back to our school and telling me, Mom, I am so happy that you have introduced to us watching videos before. That's what they call it, watching videos before, because now if I don't understand my college teacher, I look for other resources in the internet. I listen to other teachers so that I can understand the lesson very well. That's all right, for as long as the student is the one who is innovating on how to learn, then that's good. And lesser worries for the teacher, because the student will now not anymore fail in the exam, because he or she is finding ways on how to learn better. And this, it can lead to the flipped mastery program. All right, so we are deep into the conversation right now. So I am hoping that teachers there are learning some things, getting some ideas, inputs. And this is also not just for teachers. This is for parents who are now teachers at home, and for students who want to make their learning more bearable, because distance learning, the students really feel that they are alone. And when students don't like what they do, they tend to just simply ask their classmates for the answer so that they can submit something. That's a very common scenario nowadays. But if students become interested with what they are learning, then they will learn more and they will appreciate more what they are learning. So I am seeing here comments from Coach Marife and Coach Yani. Um, Great afternoon, great evening, Coach Marife, Coach Yani. Coach Yani said, great presentation, very informative. I am sharing this. Thank you, Coach Yani, for that. I am sharing this not just again for teachers, but for parents and for students who want to improve on their learning. So in teaching out of the box, previously we have teachers. We heard the teacher's point of view, and just a teaser for the coming next weeks, we are inviting students in our show so they can also share their point of view with pre-pandemic learning, with distance learning, so that we as parents and we as teachers can listen to what they have to say. I have already interviewed 4 adorable primary school children, and you will see them in the episode next week. And it is a lot to take in, and I am very much amazed how these Gen Z learners nowadays are very much into learning, and you'll be amazed by what they have to offer. And it's very nice listening to them. I'm not a primary school teacher, but it was fun having a conversation with them. And then right after that, we will invite high school students and then college students and so on. Great evening, Anika. Okay, so we will have a pause for a break muna on the Flip Classroom, and we will look into the Greatness Hub. Okay, so the Greatness Hub, as you can see, Okay. The Greatness Hub online channel is brought to you by iHelp Coaching and Business Solutions Incorporated. The hosts of the Greatness Hub Great Talk shows are all iHelp affiliate coaches, and we have a mix of shows prepared for all audience of all ages from Monday to Sunday. And here are some of our shows for Monday, for Tuesday, which is today, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and even more. We have more shows added to this, and you will not feel bored watching all of these shows because they are a good mix of what you want to see, what you want to learn. It's actually a form of flipped classroom. Why? Because we learn from the talk show hosts, and then at the same time later we can ask them questions regarding what they wait, or questions regarding if they want clarifications, or what they want about our topic. Me personally, I am looking into the shows that I am interested in. I type in my questions whenever I have questions. So yeah, we are learning from each other, and it's a good idea to have this here because learners from all ages are also able to learn other topics here. Okay, so iHelp also has a lot more to offer, so feel free to browse the website and to know more about the online courses and all the new and exciting news. To the audience who are joining us right now, again, feel free to post comments or questions you can read so that we can read and answer them. So, Teaching Out of the Box is only one of the shows of Great Flicks on the Greatness Hub channel. So, if you are curious about what Teaching Out of the Box is, let me show this to you again so that you have an idea of what we discuss here in Teaching Out of the Box.
Hello there, I'm Coach Karie. Join me for inspirational conversations on education innovations and redesign learning experiences. Teaching Out of the Box every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. only on the Greatness Hub online channel. At the Greatness Hub, together we discover, we develop, and we dominate our greatness. See ya!
Okay, I'm back. Teaching Out of the Box is only one of the shows of the Greatness Hub online channel. And the Greatness Hub online channel will also be releasing soon great podcasts, great reads, and many more. So, again, please visit the website to know more about this great and exciting news. Now, let us go back to Flip Classroom. Let us continue learning about Flip Classroom. So, for teachers out there who wants to implement Flip Classroom, this is how to do it. And there are many variations of this, pre-pandemic and now post-pandemic. And for parents out there, you can also apply this at home with the learners that you have. I know parents are having a difficult time, especially if you have a learner who's grade 1 and then your other kid is in grade 5 and your other kid is in high school and your other kid is in college. How do I help these students? I do not know all of the subjects that they are doing, and this is one of the things that you can do. So, how to implement flipped classroom? Okay, the first thing that you need to do, there are actually 6 steps. This is a 6-step guide to flipping your classroom by Jeff Dunn in 2014. These are easy steps for implementing the flipped classroom. The first is to plan. So again, as parents or as teachers or as parents who are now teachers, the first thing is you need to plan. Figure out which lesson in particular do you want to flip. If it's your first time flipping, you don't have to flip everything. You can choose which lessons you want to flip. Outline the key learning outcomes and a lesson plan. Me being a tutor before, I handle a lot of different kinds of students from all grade levels, from different schools. What I do, which parents can apply because they are doing facilitating of the learning at home, what they can do is look at the there's a study guide given by some schools. For public schools, there is a curriculum guide that you can look into. Now, looking into the curriculum guide and the study guide, you can see there, more or less, if you know your kid or your student, more or less you will know which ones are difficult for him or her and which ones are easy. So if it's a bit difficult for her, then you can plan in advance on searching. You can simply just search the keyword in YouTube or online, wherever, and let's say download a video, download an activity. I could remember my sister asking me, how do I help her child when in fact the school already stopped online classes? So the student was very eager to do the online class, but now it stopped, so that students can um, not have so much screen time. So what I told her was, there are a lot of references on the internet that you can download, you can print, you can let your kid watch, so that she will still be very interested with the classes. And this kid is grade 1. So hi Sky, if you're watching. She is really very much interested into videos, into watching and learning. So when the classes were done, that was the advice that I gave my sister. So next is to record. Instead of teaching the lesson in person, make a video. So if you're the parent, you can just download the video available on the internet. So you don't need to make a video just for the sake of making a video. You can also do other like teaching materials that you can let the students read and understand. What we are trying to do here is we are letting the child learn on their own first, absorb whatever they can absorb on the video material that we give them, on the module that we let them read, or on the activity or on the reading material that we give them. And then after that, of course, if you have prepared already and recorded, you share it, print it, you give it to the student, and then change. Step 4 is to change. Now that your students have viewed the lesson, they're prepared to actually go more in depth than ever before. Not yet giving them an activity, you still have to ask them, oh, what did you understand? What was difficult? What do you still need to know? Or where can I elaborate? If you cannot answer the question of the student, you can always ask the teacher for help. You can always search Google for the answer. Okay, now step 5 is to group. Now this is only applicable pre-pandemic, but of course in the digital age, you can also group students. We can create Google Meets. I think students who are like in high school or in college do this. They group themselves and they discuss the topic, and then they try to come up with a common solution. Although in math, I could really see if the students have the same solution, because I can see where they make a mistake or they commit the same mistakes. I let them understand that it's okay to discuss, but for as long as when you're given an activity to answer, try to answer it on your own so that you'll be corrected accordingly as well. And then regroup. Part 6 or last is to group. So get the class back together and share individual group work with everyone. Now, there is a fad right now wherein students meet, they just study together and they just listen, right? So in whatever way we can apply this regrouping, maybe if we know of a cousin or of a neighbor who is of the same grade level as our student, we could allow them to like interact and share ideas. So again, after the 6 steps, you can review, revise, and repeat. There are other strategies that can be used to the in-class as like active learning, where we allow students to apply concepts in class, where they ask peers or instructors for feedback. Please, parents, encourage your students to ask their teachers questions. Teachers are very much willing to answer the questions of your students nowadays through chat, through text, through call, through whatever way we teachers can reach out to the students. And the parents are very much the bridge, no, to encouraging these students, because most of them are afraid to ask their teachers because they don't know their teachers. They don't know their teachers because they have not personally met the teacher. They have seen the teacher online, but they have not met the teacher. So there is really a great need to bridge that gap. And then peer instruction, encourage your students to work with their classmates. Of course, we have to limit because maybe they're already working on something else. They're doing online games instead of studying. We need to monitor them. And then collaborative learning is also very effective, as shown in most of the ways in how flipped classroom, it's really a collaboration, learner to learner, learner to teacher. And then problem-based learning, class time can be spent working on problems that can last for the duration of a semester. Like right now, one module is good for 1 week usually. So um, students can have more time answering the subjects where they find difficult. And then discussions or debate are always a welcome. I don't know for other teachers for other subjects, but in science and in math, debates and discussions are very much encouraging for them to think out of the box, for them to be more critical and more analytical. Okay. Now, flipped classrooms make students more involved and responsible of learning. Having applied this in my class for about 7 years now, from pre-pandemic to digital, it really makes the students more involved and more responsible of their learning. However, in the pandemic times, in the digital era that we are in right now, this would really be greatly possible if there are um, parents who are very active also in, again, as I've said, bridging the gap, connecting teacher and student. Okay, so what has recent research on flipped classroom and medical education suggested? So the effect of flipped classroom, there are studies having done a research about flipped classroom as well. Um, Although there are inconsistent findings regarding the effect of flipped classroom in student learning, others suggesting benefits while other reporting negligible improvement over traditional teaching methods, it's really dependent if this one is for you. Again, there is no one way to teach a student, and there is no one way for students to learn. So this is just one of the ways wherein the student can learn nowadays. And then perceptions of flipped classroom. Students were generally satisfied with the approach, particularly the usefulness of online modules because of easy access and resources for self-paced learning. In the coming weeks, I am still applying it in my class, a new learning management system, and I hope in the coming weeks I'll be able to share it with you and how I do it. I'm just not gonna name it. I'm going to share it to you. I'm still on the process of testing on how it works and how the students will get it. So it's gonna be about the students' perception of the LMS that I am trying to adapt this fourth quarter. All right, attitude changes after the flipped classroom. There were positive changes that were reported. However, there are others who say, it's just the same as traditional learning. However, these are the fun and the enjoyment that students get while learning. It decreased the boredom actually, and there is a greater task value in flipped classroom. And then since students are more responsible of their learning, they find joy in saying that, hey, this is my work. This is not just something pushed by my teacher for me to learn. This is something I want to learn. This is how I want to present what I have learned. So there's more accountability. Yes, that's the word, accountability on the part of the learner. And then, although there are mixed results detected in students in the knowledge, skills, and behavior changes with the flipped curriculum, the teacher there really has to adapt, revise how flipped classroom is applied in the classroom. For me, the flipped classroom I use for a certain set of students this school year is not the same flipped classroom I use with the next batch of students. In as much as I want to save time on material preparation, every time I look back the previous activities that I give my previous students, somehow there is a need for revision in this school year. So I do not totally 100% just use the same materials over and over again. I thought that's what's going to happen because I'll have already a series of PowerPoints, a series of videos that I can present to the students. But no, every year you have different set of students and it could never be the same. That is the key role of the teacher. The teacher still knows the students best. So yeah. And what is in it for parents and students? How can they apply it in the how can they apply flipped classroom at home? I think that is the key takeaway that we need, that all of us need here. How can parents apply flipped classroom at home, and how can students do this with their learning, and how can teachers advise parents and learners to do this at home? First is you maximize the videos available in the internet. So there are a lot of videos available internet, a lot of materials that you can learn. You can choose which one you like to understand, however it's presented. I could remember way back in college we only use a certain book for a certain subject, and sometimes there are books that are really gonna make you cry because you don't understand the way it's presented. However, when you have a friend from another class with another teacher and uses a different book, how you can understand that book better than your book. So actually it really depends on which materials you find easy to understand. And in the internet there are a lot of easy materials. I teach basic calculus now, and I really try my best to make it as easy to understand as possible as how it was explained to me by my college teacher, who made calculus very easy, although it was really a difficult subject. But my professor in college made it really, really easy for me to understand it. Even after more than 10 years after I graduated from college, I could still remember the way she made us understand. And then teachers in applying flipped classroom at home, for parents and students, teachers are very much willing to collaborate with parents and students to expand learning. Again, parents and students can always ask teachers for help, can ask more activities if there is available. I know teachers have a lot of resources that they want to give to the students, however, very limited because of the distance learning that we have nowadays. And the third way on how parents and students can apply flipped classroom at home is that mastery of learning is one of the important goals of the 21st learning century, and we want our students to learn other than having good grades. I know we are after good grades, but it's really the mastery of the learning that our students have. So we need to apply flipped classroom in such a way wherein it benefits the student the most, because we think that the student has good grades, but then he has not totally mastered or completely learned. And it will be more difficult for him if he goes on to the grade level thinking that he has already mastered this. And most of the subjects now are the prerequisite subjects of the subjects next year or next semester. And then lastly, transfer of learning in a flipped classroom is real. There is transfer of learning and there is real life application and of learning. It's the best result there is in the flipped classroom, and they can apply this by having actual or real life practical applications related to the subject class. Like my example before, fractions, you can apply it to real life examples other than the pizza and the cake, because when we say fractions, you only remember the pizza and the cake. All right, so I hope there are a lot of takeaways. I hope you still are very much interested in other ways and strategies that we can apply in this digital age. That is all I have for today for Flipped Classroom. I am waiting for your questions. If you have some questions, you can post them right now so I can answer them. Okay, we still have a few minutes left. Okay, I would just like to invite everyone again to watch all of the shows of the Greatness Hub online channel, Teaching Out of the Box next week. It would be very much fun learning with kids this time, with the students themselves. So we're done with the teachers, then we will go into the students. So I would like to end my presentation this evening with a quote that I could always remember when I go back to when I visit my university and college. There's always this saying at the, how to say, underground or the ground, lower than the ground floor. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. We can only start our journey if we take a dip, even just like the toes lang we just take a dip with the toes. But if we try, we can explore more things, and that is the fun part about education. We can always try, revise, and try something else if this doesn't work. So once again, thank you so much for those who are with us this evening. We have made a breakthrough in education. Join me again next week for inspirational conversations and education innovations and redesign learning experiences every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Starting next week, we will be listening to the point of view of students. Next Tuesday, I have invited primary school students in various grade levels so we can listen to what they have to say about learning. Once again, and this is Teaching Out of the Box. See you again next Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Bye!
inspirational conversations on education innovations and redesign learning experiences. Teaching Out of the Box every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. only on the Greatness Hub online channel. At the Greatness Hub, together we discover, we develop, and we dominate our greatness. See ya!